On Spotify, you can listen to all your favorite artists and podcasts in one place for free. You don't even need a premium account. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including ones you're listening to right now. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Premium users can download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are. Easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram. If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app. Search for ML on Spotify or podcast in your library tab. Also make sure to follow me so you never miss an episode of ML Machine Learning. I have noticed in my analytics that Spotify does host a lot of my podcasts, so I would recommend that you use it. Welcome to Machine Learning. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a startup company that I was looking at this morning, and it's called Buy Labs. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting company because it's an AI startup, and what it basically asks some certain questions about medical imaging. Like, how can we lower the cost of medical imaging? How can we bring this to the world? And it turns out that the hardware for certain types of imaging was getting smaller and smaller, and that particular hardware is for ultrasound. So in looking at ultrasound, you could now get a handheld device connected to either a tablet or to an iPhone and running the Buy Labs software for recognizing objects and features like defects. And basically what they're trying to do is tell a story from the images. So they found that experts recognize objects really fast. So they looked at human beings, and they looked at how fast human beings recognize imaging. And so they started to notice that the human beings were really good at recognizing an image like within milliseconds. And they were kind of wondering how that was possible. How the brain has these really fast networks that could recognize an object with high degree of accuracy from various perspectives. So they wanted to bring more imaging to more people. So they have some case studies of people. I believe it was a lady in Rwanda with a certain medical disease that she could not have treated because there was no imaging, so they wouldn't know particularly what was the particular problem that she was facing. They knew that she had a general disease from the symptoms, but they had no way to provide the imaging at that location until recently. And because ultrasound now has become so affordable and smaller that you can have a handheld probe and a tablet for display, they had now to interpret what was the meaning of the ultrasound objects, images. And so they said, well, hey, these convolution nets or these neural nets, deep neural nets, deep learning nets, were really good at recognizing external objects. Let's take them into the body and have it now recognize objects that are in the ultrasound. Now, one of the things that he didn't mention, which would have been really interesting, is if the deep learning could translate the ultrasound images into what it thinks would happen in a organic system. So in other words, it could simulate or map from the ultrasound images, either in 2D or 3D, and then predict what it would look like as a live organic object. So that would be interesting if they make that jump. There's been some of that work in generative imaging, and we were talking with Louis Serrano about with generative imaging, where we have now the machine is creating that image. What does it mean to interpret the ultrasound images? Well, experts recognize certain biological structures and certain defect features. Then they tell a story of what was going on in that image. In 2013, machines began to recognize objects at a glance better than humans and humans' IT neurons. If neural nets are so good at recognizing objects outside the body, then apply them to objects within the body. The Bay Lab's object recognition can be put on the same device that's gathering the ultrasound images. Bay Labs uses technology built in hardware by Philips Lumen to put their software. Bay Labs distributes its software to medical sites around the world as low-cost medical imaging. So that's their number one selling point, is low-cost medical imaging. However, with the deep learning and generative imaging, they have much more than just low-cost imaging. They have the ability to interpret objects and tell a story, and that story may be in a natural language that the patient can understand and the doctor can understand. So it's a very exciting future for Bay Labs, and will be interesting to see what happens.